had to find a way to fight against the old self. I had to find a way to fight against me. At the end of the day, that's the hardest challenge in the world, is fighting against the man in the mirror.
Dude, it's killing yourself without killing your physical body.
Come on.
It's so real, and like, you know, when you want to face those suicidal thoughts, there is a version of you that needs to die.
Has to.
But it's not your physical version.
No.
It's not the version that if you take this physical away from me, I'm no longer here. It's a rework of the internal world. What is up, my dear friends, and welcome back to another episode of Honey, I'm Home. Today, I have a very special guest with me, and it's not even a guest, honestly, just one of my good friends that I become very close with throughout about a year and a half now, and I'm excited to have him on today to talk a little bit how to save yourself after you felt like you've lost yourself, because I feel like after getting to know Tre for the past year and a half, this is something, a topic that him and I both can relate very closely to. I wrote a whole book on how I found myself after I lost myself, and he's experienced that with his own career, his own path, and I want him to share that path with you because he's an individual who I believe can speak volume and speak into your life if you are someone who's currently being challenged with just uncertainty in life, unsure of, you know, who you are, where you want to go, and, you know, what you're supposed to do at this point in time. I think he has a lot of respect in the area of how you can begin to work on yourself. He's a coach, he's a speaker, and he's so much more than that. And my dear friend Tre, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm grateful you're here with me today, man. You know, I'm excited for my audience to experience your words and your wisdom. You know, there's a lot of truth that comes from you because I think of the perspectives that you've lived through, and the life that you've been gifted. You know, some may call it a curse, but others, you know, I think that you've changed that philosophy, see it with a different perspective. But if you don't mind, just kind of introduce yourself and talk about a little bit of your story about who Tre Tipton is and the background that you really have. I know it's a loaded question.
It's a loaded question.
But like, you know, what do you find when it comes to when people ask you, you know, who is Tre Tipton? What comes to mind, and who is Tre Tipton?
It's crazy you asked that question because just the other day I was just sitting here thinking about it because we often identify with occupation when somebody asks us that question. You know what I'm saying? Or we identify with what we did in the past. And as of recently, when they asked me that question, like, who is Tre Tipton? I found this profound answer just within myself, and it's a simple answer. Who is Tre Tipton? Tre Tipton is Tre Tipton. You know what I mean? I'm not like anybody else. I'm unique in my own way. I care a lot. I'm ambitious. I'm loving. I'm caring. But that's just unique to me. That's the same way I see other people in that lens of them, right? I don't judge you by the skin. I don't judge you by what you look like. I judge you by who you are as the person that you are. You know what I mean? So
by the character.
You know what I mean? The character that you have. So for me, it's like when you ask the question, who is Tre Tipton? I'm as simply myself as much as I can be. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to be as me as I could possibly can be. So yeah.
Dude, you've had an interesting life and career. You played for Pitt.
Yes, sir.
And I want to talk a little bit about that, like, because you and I have the same background story in regards to, you know, sports kind of saved who we were as individuals. We both grew up in broken homes, which then related to a broken life, you know, damaged within our own selves, which I think a lot of people have their story. But I want to pull that out of you because you went through some difficulty growing up, but then you turn that difficulty into passion with the game of football. And you became, you know, a Division I athlete with hopes of going into the NFL. And, you know, but in that moment, you share your story of what that was like. Take me back to the days of your when you felt like you were most glorified, when you're most, you know, probably respected, because that's how I felt. And then you lost it all. And in losing that, you lost. We've talked about it, and that's why I'm sharing this, but you lost yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So talk about that experience, and then what you experienced when you no longer had the very thing that you identified with as a man.
Right. So we go back to my senior year of high school / freshman year of college. And my senior year of high school, man, I was kind of coming out of a depression out of my junior year anyway. And I had made this realization that I had gotten the scholarship I was looking for. I had did everything I was supposed to do. So I'm ready to be the big fish in a small pond. You know what I'm saying? So as I'm going through it, man, I'm over there killing people left and right, bro. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Like, I had probably one of the best seasons I can ever imagine as a senior in high school. But then we get into my freshman year of college, and I'm still doing the same thing. So in my head, it's like, oh, I'm him. You know what I mean? I'm probably I'm the best that I know of, right?
Yeah.
And I was quickly reminded that that's not the case, right? So what ended up happening my freshman year was I had been going through a relationship that was an extremely toxic relationship that played a role in my mental. And anybody who's ever gone through anything traumatic, right? The slightest change, right? The slightest thing to come in and poison your well will. It doesn't take much. You know what I mean? And for me, man, it was, I don't even want to consider her a poison, but it was adding on to the things I already thought of about myself. You know what I'm saying? Like
amplifying that.
Amplifying it, bro. Like I'm talking about like a sound system. Crazy, right? So I already had looked at myself and was like, yeah, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this. My life has always told me that I'm this. My life has always portrayed me as this, so this is who I am.
Sure.
Right? So then after that, she had amplified on it. And then I got to a point where I was like, yeah, I am those things. I am all the negative things that these people say about me.
Started to believe it.
Started to believe it, bro. Like, and I tell people all the time, bro, like you spend 365, 24/7 with yourself. If you told yourself every single day that you were one thing, you will become that thing.
I believe that.
You know what I mean? And unfortunately, I told myself that I wasn't worthy. I wasn't great at the sport. I didn't do the things I needed to do. I wasn't a great lover. All these things, bro. And it got to a point where I became somebody who could read the future because I ended up becoming that. You know what I'm saying? Because that was the constant thing that I was portraying in my life, right? So it got to a point where it went from bad to real bad. You know what I mean? And when it gets real bad, bro, it's almost like depression's walking around with you. Doesn't matter where you go, doesn't matter where you run, doesn't matter who you talk to or what you indulge in or what you invest in, right? It's almost like no matter what you do, that darkness is traveling with you until you decide to find the light in it. Took me a while to find that.
How do you even? That's huge because I think that depression or the darkness. I don't even know if I was clinically depressed. I would say I'm probably borderline at that point. Same thing with the relationship, right? Like football saved me because it allowed me to take out my anger. It allowed me to take out my frustration. It allowed me to take out just all of the emotional pain that was trapped within, right? It allowed me to use my body as a weapon, right? And it was legal to do that in football. So it kind of saved me. But when you were talking about this light, what was your light? What did you begin to focus on? Or was it, did you let, that relationship go? Or what did you start speaking to yourself? What did you start to do when you felt like you hit rock bottom and you started to see glimpse of light? Because right now there's somebody listening who does not see the light but wants to see the light, but that depression or that darkness is always constantly there, reminding them that they are not who they want to be and are at where they want to be. So what did you do, or what was that light that at the end of the tunnel there?
You want me to be real honest with you?
I would love you to.
I started being accountable. It's crazy, but reality sets in, bro. Everybody's always wondering, like, why am I going through this? Why is this happening to me? And then we act like we can't be the people who change it. We're the only people who can change it.
Dude.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to become a lot more accountable of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to let this circumstance be the last circumstance. You know what I mean? Like, I was tired of feeling like I want to die. I was tired of feeling like I can't do it. The only reason why I felt those things is because I personally was saying those things about me. And what's crazy is during those times I was going through suicide. Had attempted on my own life a couple times. You know what I'm saying? And in that experience, I realized, like, when are you gonna stop beating yourself? So in that moment, I became a professional fighter. So when you ask who Tre Tipton is, I'm a professional fighter already.
Yeah, my guy.
You know what I mean? Because I had to find a way to fight against the old self. I had to find a way to fight against me. At the end of the day, that's the hardest challenge in the world, is fighting against the man in the mirror.
Dude, it's killing yourself without killing your physical body.
Come on.
It's so real, and like, when you want to face those suicidal thoughts, there is a version of you that needs to die.
Has to.
But it's not your physical version.
No.
It's not the version that if you take this physical away from me, I'm no longer here. It's a rework of the internal world that needs to die. There is a separation, a death that needs to take place, a breakup that needs to take place. But you talked about holding yourself accountable, and man, that is so hard when you don't want to hold yourself accountable. But the book that changed my life told me that I was responsible for my own suffering.
Come on.
And that was the moment that I changed my life. And what I mean by changing my life, I just started to challenge myself to think differently.
Right.
I started to hear the voices in my head that said that I was not enough, I'm not worthy enough, I was abandoned and I'll never be worth anything, and like I'll always have problems and issues, no confidence, and I'm going to be a broke kid for the rest of my life. That's emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, all of those things. I felt like I was just broken, right? And when I started to hold myself accountable too, man, I'm just like, enough is enough.
Right.
I'm tired of just feeling like I'm just not complete. I'm not who I want to be. But then it got me to question, like, if I'm not who I want to be, and I'm so unhappy with this version of myself, then who the heck do I want to be?
Boom.
And so talk about that moment in your life, when you reach that moment of like starting to ask yourself, who do I want to be? And how did you start to like figure those answers out to those specific questions? Because it's not easy to have that conversation with yourself, man, to like sit yourself down, to ask yourself, I'm so unhappy with me that I wanted to kill me, right? And this is not supposed to be dark. It's just your story, man.
Reality.
And why I love you being so vulnerable and real about this is because I'm telling you, there's so many people dealing with this right
100%.
now, man, and it needs to be talked about, because your voice today has the power to save someone's life, because they're like, oh, you're telling me you were depressed? You're telling me that you had thoughts of suicide? You're telling me that you still went Division I and got to fulfill a dream of yours? If he can do it, I can do it, and I have something worth living for. So talk about the moment in time and when you started to like, what did you start to do differently that helped you to really rebuild the relationship with yourself, from taking it from, cliche or not, broken to a breakthrough?
I'll be honest with you, man. I prayed more. That was number one. I had to start getting my relationship with God to help me find who I really wanted to be as a human. That was the first thing I had to do. But again, to each his own. Don't want to force religion on anybody, but that's where I was at.
Sure.
Second thing I did was I realized is if I wanted relationships in my life to go well, I had to create a relationship with myself. That's hard.
It's hard to do.
You know what I mean? Because you always, like, you are a direct resemblance of what your life and your environment has created for you. So what happens is it's like at times where we believe in those things, even though we may not agree with those things. And for me, I was like, I'm done believing in things that are not true about myself. You know what I mean? Because where's the proof at? Well, the proof is in the pudding, my boy. You know what I'm saying? The fact that you're even alive today shows that you're strong enough to handle what you've been through. What happened to me today is not going to be what it is tomorrow. And that's the tough part, right? I feel like even now, right, I was challenged in that moment where God was only preparing me for the future. Again, no forcing on anybody else, but in my eyes, God was only preparing me for the future, because that wasn't the hardest thing I ever went through.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So for me, it was more so realizing is that, like, yo, if we're gonna do this together, let's do this together. You know what I mean? If I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna lose with myself and be okay with that.
Yeah.
But if I'm not okay with me, there's no way in this world I'm gonna be okay with any challenge that comes my way. So that was the first step, was like, yo, like, how can we learn love through ourselves? So I would tell myself things every day like, yo, you're gorgeous. And that's not something that you would even use as a word for a man.
For a man, of course not.
You know what I mean? But I would tell myself that just because I remind myself that, like, you are what you believe you are. The moment that you believe that you're nothing, you are nothing. The moment that you believe that you're something, you become something. You know what I mean? So, like, in that moment, as soon as that happened, see, I can't lie to you, man. My whole life changed. The whole game changed.
It does change.
You know what I mean? I became Bruce Lee. In my head. And it sounds crazy, bro. It sounds crazy. But seriously, I became Bruce Lee because those negative thoughts didn't stop coming.
Yeah.
I just knew how to be like, wait a minute, is that your thought? Or is that coming from a different place?
Yeah, someone else saying that to
you. know what I'm saying? Because I think we all carry demons to an extent.
We should.
And sometimes we pick up other people's demons that we don't even want.
Dude, demons are good. I think demons help you to evolve as an individual. They help you to grow as an individual. I think the worst demon that we can face is the demon of just stagnation, right?
Facts.
Being stagnant, that moment of not growing yourself, you're just decaying yourself. You're not trying to improve yourself. You're surrendering to these demons. I think my demons, the reason why I still hold them is because they still build me, right? And it's like, I think that what you're saying here is really important for the audience to hear, and it's something that I need to remind myself. There's a book called Hung by the Tongue that I've read multiple times, but it's the power of the word. And people, when I first started out, man, I was like, yeah, maybe I should do affirmations. Maybe I should, start to pray to God. And I did all of that too. Like, that's a really good place to start. But the thing is like, you don't want to just speak that, but in speaking that, you want to make sure that repetition
Right.
is the key to all learning.
100%.
So you can't just say it a couple times and think like, well, this doesn't work. I know it's like very intentional with the power of the word, meaning like you have to change your physical state. I remember, dude, I'd walk out in the woods, talk to God, and I would be like all open in my mind and body, bro, of like declaring who I was and who I wanted to be. And like I would not allow myself to declare something else until I felt that one word. So if I said that I was love, like I would try to ask myself, if I was love, how would I act and show up right now in this moment? If I was who I say I am, then how would that version of me show up today? And I started to step into that and I started to feel that because it's not too distant. You're one thought away from changing everything. And so it's like, I know that you know this, but I'm speaking this to those that feel like they've lost themselves and they're trying to save themselves. And the best way to rebuild that relationship with yourself is to really find solitude to talk to yourself, to take yourself out, not on a date, but just take yourself out for spending some quality time with you. Because talk about solitude, man. Talk about the power of solitude and silence, of just talking to who you are. Because the key here is, dude, thoughts, words, all have energy. That's
100%.
That's why when someone speaks a word to you, you know, I can speak it out of like, you know, a fondness of love, but because the word holds energy, right? You can feel that negative energy from that word. And I always say, if you don't believe that affirmations are important, go tell yourself. And I don't say this for people to really go do this, but I'm saying this, like, if you don't believe that your words are powerful, go tell yourself for the next 30 days that you want to kill yourself. I promise you that you will find yourself close to walking off 100%. The edge. I'm not saying you'll do it, but like that's, and I wouldn't even challenge you to do that. I'm just saying, like, if you're scared to talk to yourself in that manner, then you should believe the power of the spoken word to be able to rebuild yourself, because everything begins with the thought and your environment, dude. Your environment. It's critical to changing your world, right?
I agree.
So, I mean, what more did you do, if anything? I don't want to assume, but like, what more do you think that you did that helped you to like rebuild? And you're still probably working on yourself
100%.
Because we're never complete, right?
100%.
I mean, but have you been comfortable with that, like non-completeness of like, no, I always have something to strive for?
I would honestly say silence is the best time for reflection. You know what I mean? I got off my phone. I started to pay attention more to the things that I cared about, the things that I enjoyed, right? And I was always looking for joy in that happiness. Happiness was more so a dopamine for me. It was quick. You know what I mean? It was like you could find happiness in getting drunk. You can find happiness in smoking weed. But to get joy, right, that's hard earned. That's worked for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was searching for joy. I wanted that joy. I wanted to feel what joy felt like because I feel like I hadn't felt it since I was a baby. So I was like, okay, well, how do we get to joy, Trey? I started really writing down, what do I look like at my best? What do I, like, in my head, the most perfect version of me, what would that person look like?
Shoot.
What does he sound like? Sure. How does he walk? How does he talk? Like, to me, what would that look like?
Yeah. What energy does he bring to the table?
When he walks in the room, what does he do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And once I kind of got a vision of what that was.
Did it excite you at all?
Man, you want to talk about getting excitement on a football field, bro. I was like, I can actually obtain that? Like, I had to see it for myself that it was possible.
Yeah.
And it was as simple as just writing it on some paper to see, like, this is what you think that you should be doing, but you're not doing it.
Oh, man. You know what you just said there sparked a thought real quick. You know what? Some of the funnest moments in football was like Friday night lights, like looking forward to the packed crowd, or like Saturday games where you're ready for that energy and excitement. But what makes life exciting, man, is like giving yourself something to look forward to.
Come on.
Like that is, most people try to find their hope in the past, but hope is only found in the future.
Right.
You can't really have hope in the past, because it's something that's already happened.
Come on.
Right? But like, you've given yourself multiple different visions of a version of yourself that you're excitingly chasing, right? It's like the next 5 years, this is who I want to be. What does that look like? Like, and then once you're there, it's like sitting yourself back down to rebuild once again, because I think you never get there, and you're always in a constant rebuild, right? Of evolution and evolving, and you got to be comfortable with that, because if you're not comfortable with change, you're not going to be comfortable in life. Right. I'm not saying comfortability is the goal, but like, it is, we do need a little bit of comfort in our lives to find some solid foundation. For sure. Man. And so, I know that you went through a crazy career in your football journey. You've been through a crazy life experience through multiple relationships. You've been, dude, I feel like you've lived so many different lives, but is there any advice that you would like to give to the individual right now that is currently listening to this, that felt like they've lost everything? They lost the person that they fell in love with. They lost their home. They lost their children. They lost themselves. They don't know where to begin. What advice would you give to the person? And just imagine them sitting here in this audience with us today and being like, I just feel completely broken and I have nowhere to turn. I don't know where to turn. I don't know what to do. You know, what is a piece or two advice that you would give to that individual who is just ready for transformation to take place, but they're currently feeling so stuck and defeated?
Adversity is a comma in life, not a period. What I mean by that is like it's a break in the sentence. It's not the end of the sentence. It's a break. In that break is an obstacle. How do you get over that obstacle? In order for you to continue the sentence, you have to think of something past the current sentence that you have. Let's get into it. Same thing with life. That current adversity that you're going through is only right now. It's not later on, it's only right now. What's going to happen is, you spoke to it very briefly. You're going to grow to get stronger, but you have to believe in that. See, what a lot of people believe is that life is supposed to be easy. 9 times out of 10, anything that's easy in your life is not worth it. Even Jesus had a tough life. So depending on, honestly, whatever religion you believe in,
they all had a, that's where awareness comes from.
You know what I mean?
There's difficulty.
There's difficulty there.
Yeah.
So it's like, why do you expect yourself to be so different? Why do you expect the people who we consider prophets to go through the hardest of hardships, and you just gonna walk gracefully through life like nothing happened?
That's not how that works, man. That's not, Buddha found complete awareness from his deep suffering. Jesus found all of everything that he found through suffering and through 40 days of fasting and in the wilderness, and life is about suffering. So I always say this: pain is inevitable, but suffering is not. Suffering is a choice of elongated pain, right? So it's like, we'll always experience pain. Just be okay with that.
Right.
Like Brian spoke to this yesterday. He spoke that I want to share this. It's like, problems never stop.
Never.
You just become better at dealing with problems.
Come on.
So it's like, that's why you're being challenged right now, because life is asking you to step up and take on the challenge to prepare you for your next one.
Right.
Because your next one, and you want challenges to come. You should try to challenge yourself. That's what I'm saying. Like, the reason why most people feel so broken in life is because they're not doing anything in life. And it's like, you got to build something. We were created by a creator to create, And it's like, if we want to create a good life, if we want to save ourselves, you got to sometimes just start doing the work. Stop complaining.
Come on.
There's enough of the complaining.
Come on.
Like, we got to pick ourselves up, hold ourselves accountable, like you were saying earlier. Hold yourself responsible to your own suffering. Be like, enough is enough. Even if you have to hit rock bottom, allow yourself to hit rock bottom.
And this is what's crazy, bro. I got kids right now. I don't have kids myself, but
I coach them.
I coach kids right now, and one of the kids that I have right now has had a tougher life than I've ever had. And for me to look at that,
dude,
immediately gratitude. Instantly, because it's like, wait a minute, like, you're 14,
you're doing it on your own,
and you're figuring it out. Whoa,
but is he alone?
Never.
No,
and that's
dude.
the thing, bro. You're never alone if you speak up.
Yeah. Oh, speak up.
You know what I mean? Speak up
Everywhere.
And that's huge, bro. And
that's why they call it a breakup.
Huge.
First, you got to break, then it's all up.
It's all up from there,
That's
bro.
it, man. You got to break to recreate.
I like that one.
Go up.
I ain't gonna lie. I like that
Yeah,
one. I
you know
like that one.
Yeah, that's why they call it a breakup. It's not a breakdown. We break up with things so that we can go through a breaking point where it's like, this is a moment in time where you get to reevaluate yourself as an individual. You get to sit down and be like, whoa, I don't like this life that I'm living. That's the purpose of the break. It's like, I wasn't living in alignment to who I want to be, where I want to go, what I want to do. Actually, I never even thought about those questions because they're so uncomfortable. So I decided to distract myself in another relationship rather than, pursuing myself. I pursued someone else.
Wow.
And in that, I lost myself.
Wow.
Right? So it's like this break, this moment in time where you feel completely, frustrated and alone and depressed and dark and moody and, unmotivated.
Right.
It's so that you can spend the quality time with yourself that you need to in order to heal you, to then step yourself back into a loving place. So that then what you did was you created a nonprofit, right?
Yes, sir.
You want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, man. So I became.
It's a powerful, nonprofit, man.
To me, bro, the strongest thing in this world is love. Is it the easiest thing to obtain? No. It's probably one of the hardest things in the world to obtain.
Bro, my first
love is everything, bro.
That's my only truth, man.
Look.
Dude,
Look.
I'm telling you, dude.
Love is everything.
It is, man.
So I made this organization called Love, standing for living out victoriously every day. What is it really resembling? What are we really talking about? Let me talk about it. What we're really resembling is the fact that your adversity is your opportunity. I don't know if you heard me, but I hope that you do. Your adversity is your opportunity. And I wanted to not only see that, but I wanted to seize that, right? Like, how can I win each day within my life? Because every day, right, you might have had 2 things bad that's happened to you in your day and 20 things that were good. What will you notice?
Too bad.
The 2 bad. With that said, right, because you've noticed those 2 bad, you're just taking 5 minutes of your life that had that bad and making it 24 hours. You get a decision. I'm not telling people not to reflect. And this is something that I like to talk about because you explained it a little bit earlier. There's 3 levels of life. You have the past, the present, the future.
Sure.
You can only stay so long in the past because it becomes depression. You can only stay so long in the future because it becomes anxiety. How do you live in the moment? Well, you deserve to look back in the past to learn. But how long do you stay there? For me, I say the same thing as if I would go and learn in the classroom. You know what I'm saying? You get an hour, bud.
Just about an hour.
You get about
After
an
that,
hour.
I'm cooked.
I'm cooked. And then in the future, it's like I'm setting goals that I want to seize, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't predict whether this is going to happen. That's the problem with people today. They can't live in the present because they're trying to predict the future. If God made you perfect, your name would be Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, like, don't try to predict the future. Set the goal for the future, but do what you can right now in the moment to get there. Be where your feet are. You know how hard it was for me to be where my feet are? Because I'm so observant. I'm too observant. I overthink everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I had to tell myself, like, wait a minute, Trey, what are you around right now? Like, I had to look at a TV screen and say, what colors are around me? Just to be present in the current moment that I'm in. There's so many days, and I know you know this, Tyler. We've talked about this previously. There's so many days in my previous life, right? There's so many days from the last 27 years of my life that I just don't remember. There's 365 days in a year. And to be honest with you, I probably remember like 10.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a strong 10.
Yeah, a strong 10.
And I was like, bro, like, I'm not saying that I'll ever remember more past that 10. But within that 10, bro, I want to be as present as possible. I want to think about the friends that I'm currently around. Like, I got the chance to see Tyler today. I got the chance to see Jesse today. I got the chance to be with Vinny today. We built a bar today. We did this today. Like, actually being present in the moment of your life, bro, it allows us to stop acting like because our hearts have beat 365 for however long, however many years you've been alive, that tomorrow it can't just stop. You know what I mean? Like, live in this moment. Love this moment. And whatever your current obstacle is, it's your opportunity to figure it out. And enjoy that too.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm so grateful for the people that I'm around, and I think that's what changed my mind. You know what I mean? Was just reminding myself, what are you actually grateful for? What are you thankful for? Like, what has allowed you to be you right now? You know what I mean? And that to me, like, you and I, we had a tough situation a couple weeks ago, and I was beyond grateful for that because that grew me as a human.
Same.
I'm being honest.
No, same, dude.
That made me a
went through
better
adversity.
person. Yeah. And I was like, it's an opportunity.
It is an opportunity.
It's an opportunity to have growth. It's an opportunity for us to become better friends. It's an opportunity for us to look at a situation. And you said it best the other day. You were like, I know I can go to war with you guys because that current moment showed me that the battle wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad, my guy. That's it. That's it, man.
I'll take that every day of the week.
Dude, my guy. I appreciate you being on here today. 100%. I really do. And there's a lot that I still want to pull out and talk to you about, so we'll get you back on the podcast. But before I let you go, there's a couple of final questions, and typically one. But if, today was your last day that you could ever get yourself behind the mic, and you had the opportunity to share one message or one word or one thought that you're currently living with, because you're not promised the next 6 hours of your life. You're not promised tomorrow, and you're only promised the present moment. So what message would that be to yourself or, to anyone who's listening to this, to something that's currently on your mind? What would that message be, man?
Live like you're not going to live tomorrow. It is that simple, bro. Like, honestly, like, the bare minimum 5 things that you would do to say that you lived, do those bare minimum 5 things.
Yeah.
For me, it's talk to family, call my family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Spend time with friends. Like, bro, we work a lot, cool, but like, that's not gonna be a memory of me. You know what I'm saying? Like we work a lot, but it's like, you're not gonna remember me for the amount of work I did. You're gonna remember me for the time that we spent. You know what I'm saying? The relationships that we built. Somebody the other day tried to say that, like, yeah, I worked this hard for me to get my family there, and I respect that 100%. But what you do when you're with your family, bro, better count. You know what I mean? You better be top dog, as present as you could possibly be, because then it's actually worth you working so much. Otherwise, bro, if you're not present and you're working 24/7, 365, all your family knows is a ghost that they talked about and they call dad. Bro, I don't want to be a ghost.
No,
you know
dude.
what I mean? Like, I don't want to fade away and not be remembered with the relationships that I genuinely cared about, bro. Like, I want you to remember the conversations we had, the talks that we had, the time that we spent, the time that we shared. And if anything, bro, you're like, listen, I remember Trey for this, this, and this, and not for the things that I do in my occupation. I did my job, and you did your job too. So be more than what you're currently doing. Be more than your occupation. Be more than what you think of yourself. Be more for yourself, bro. Grow, and be okay with growing.
My guy. Trey, where can they find you online? Because I'm telling you that I don't surround myself by anybody. I do try to protect who I allow into my life, and
100%.
you're one of those guys that I allow to speak into my life, and that's why I get you on the podcast, because I know it was a long time coming. I just needed to find the proper topic that I think we could both talk about. But in regards to that, where can people find you at online?
Online, you can find me on Instagram, TreTip06.
Giving out that daily wisdom.
You know, that daily wisdom, Tre Tips.
You got way with words, man. I wish, dude, you got away with words, man. You're smooth, my guy.
Hey, man, it was built in me, bro, by the grace of God. So with that, Tre Tips, you can find me on TreTip06 on Instagram, also on TikTok. And then you go into my Twitter. It's basically Tipton_05. Then after that, man, if you need a friend, find a friend. And if you need a friend to me, I'll pick up. So
let's go. My dear friends, thank you for joining me today on another episode on Honey, I'm Home. If you have found this podcast episode enjoyable, supportive, encouraging, and or uplifting, be sure to share it out with 1, 2, or 3 of your friends to just get the message out there, because this podcast has the ability to reach every home across the world, but I need your help. And if you'd like to be a part of that help, be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to the podcast at, because your review is what helps this podcast reach more homes. My name is Tylerjoestratton, and this is Honey, I'm Home.